Johnny Murray here, and welcome to a brand new review. Today, we're going to be reviewing Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. That's right. The name is actually that long. Yes, I don't know. Look, all right, I got to get something off my chest real quick. Sega, RGG, Ryuga Gotoku, what are you doing with your names, bro? Like, I get it. You're trying to tell a story, and trust me, this name, it gets the point across, right? Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. I get it. But we can shorten this, okay? We can shorten it. Like a Dragon, Gaiden, Man Who Erased His Name, bro, that's too long too, all right? Like, first of all, you should have just kept it Yakuza, all right? The franchise should just be called Yakuza. Second of all, oh, man, we got to talk about that. But anyway, we're going to be reviewing Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. I finished it a couple of days ago. I'm just now doing reviews, so sorry for the delay. But I did get it out within 5 days, so like I said, I was going to. Yeah, this is going to be a fun one to do because this game has a lot of things that I'm very excited to talk about, but it has a lot of things that you'll see what I'm going to talk about. But nonetheless, thank you all so much for clicking on the video. If you enjoyed, definitely leave a like, leave a comment section down provided, and please subscribe. If you guys love video games, we cover it daily on this channel. We cover reviews, news, reactions, all of that. Doesn't matter what you love, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, third-party, PC, VR, indie, whatever it may be, consider subscribing. I appreciate all the support you guys give me, especially support in this video right here. But let's get talking about Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. And yeah, so my playthrough ended up being about 25 hours. I went back recently. I played some more of the mini games. We're going to get into that again. Yeah. I would say the main story is about 15 hours, right? And so I did do quite a bit of side stuff. I got stuck on a lot of not stuck, but like I played a lot of mini games throughout my playthrough, so that definitely upped my time. But I did do some side quests and stuff like that, exploration, things like that. So we're gonna talk about it. But yeah, like the last review, we're gonna go over the good, we're gonna go over the mixed, and then we're gonna go over the bad. And I will say there are things in all three of those categories with this game. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump in with what is good, or what I've at least found good about this game. And we're going to start off with the gameplay. And so the first thing we got to talk about the gameplay is obviously, the recent Like a Dragon games have went turn-based. The mainline games are turn-based, which is a change from the older games, which were beat 'em up, or they're beat 'em up. Some people will say hack and slash. They're not hack and slash, all right? They are beat 'em up games. And personally, I grew up with the beat 'em up Yakuza games. Kiwami 1, 2, 0, all that stuff are like my favorites. I love the Judgment games as well. Those are really, really fun. And I haven't really been the biggest fan of the turn-based Switch, but I know there is a large community for that, and that is awesome. But for this game, they went back to the beat 'em up. However, they completely changed it. It's technically an all new combat system, while obviously they're taking what they know and what they've learned from the beat 'em up style and implementing it in here. And I have to say that I absolutely loved it. I thought this was a great change. I loved the controls of it. I loved the fluidity of it. It was just very satisfying, and it felt good to use, and it felt really exciting and fun, right? And I think that is number one, what's most important. Was it fun? And yes, absolutely, I think it's fun. I think there are so many times throughout this game where I'm like, honestly, I just want to fight again. Like, I just want to go into combat. Like, I don't want to go do this. I don't want to go do that. Like, let me just fight a boss. Let me just fight this huge swarm of enemies. And you do get that a lot, and that's because the combat is really, really fun, and I really do like it. I loved how they implemented specials and like supers. So like you have a few different meters. One of them, once you fill it up, you can click Y to do this like really cool like special. Sometimes you can team up with one of your companions, and then other times you just do this really cool animation to deal a large amount of damage to an enemy. But then also there's another meter where, depending on what style you're using, you can summon sharks, or you can summon clones around you to help fight off whatever you're doing. And I really enjoyed those. I thought those were great mechanics. But then also, the combat is just deep. There is blocking, there is dodging, there is aerial combat. There was a lot to do here, and I think the big thing here is that it just feels good to use. Controls are polished, animations are clean, right? it's just a very satisfying combat system, and it works really, really well with what this game is going for. And also, a big part of this game is the ship combat, right? The pirate ship exploration, sailing, fighting other boats, naval combat is what some people call it, right? And I thought it was really fun. I personally really enjoyed it. I think the combat, it's definitely more on the simplified side of ship combat than we've seen in other games like Sea of Thieves or Assassin's Creed Black Flag, right? But I think that is good in some departments, right? I don't think we don't want this game to just become a pirate ship battling JRPG, right? Because that's not what Yakuza is. That's not what Like a Dragon is, right? And I think what they did with this combat is good enough, right? It feels fun, and it gets the point across of naval combat, right? And so I personally really enjoyed it. We're going to talk about something later when it comes to the pirate ship stuff, but no, I thought it was really fun. Like I said, it's very simplified. You have your right cannon, your left cannon, you have your stern guns, whatever you want to call it. If that's even the right term. Stern, is that the front of the boat? I think so. But anyway, very fun, but super simplified. We're going to get into it a little bit more. But there is like boosting while you're in the ship. There is drifting while you're in the ship. And there's just a lot of things. You have a simple health bar. And yeah, just stuff like that. But overall, I really, really enjoyed it. Now we're going to go to the story. And for the most part, I enjoyed the story. I number one love the direction for this game, right? Like I think, people kind of get confused what game direction is, right? And it's, do they see out the vision? Do they see out the vision? Do they try new things? Do they innovate? And I think this game is probably going to end up being one of the best game directions of the year, just because you can tell they had a clear idea what they wanted to do with this game, with its pirate style, with Majima, with like a lot of the gameplay. I think they captured it perfectly. You have moments in here that it's like, what am I watching? What am I looking at? But it's just working, right? And there's so many things that just seem so out of the ordinary, but you're like, that just feels right. Like it just makes a lot of sense with what kind of game this is. And then also, with the story that they told, does it fit the pirate theme? And I think absolutely does. Right. And so I absolutely love the direction that they went for this game, taking a crazy character like Majima, putting a crazy theme around it like pirates, and just giving it a story and gameplay to just match its energy. And so that's number one, what I'll say about this game's story or narrative really, is I just love the direction that they went for it. But then also, there are so many moments within this game that I would consider like S tier moments. Like there are so many moments where I'm like, this is just peak. This is like peak cinema right here. Like this is so fun. This is so funny. This is so exciting. I'm having an absolute blast. And so that's something I have to give. And I think right there, what I just said, there are so many S tier moments in this game. I think will reflect on the score that I give it later on, and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna explain my reasoning for that later. But I think what this game or what this game's story does better than a lot of other Like a Dragon or Yakuza games is I genuinely think they wanted to make this game to just have fun to the fullest, right? They don't want to take itself too seriously, even though there are serious moments within the game, and we'll touch on that in a second. But they just wanted to let their creativity flow. They wanted to just have fun, right? And I think you can see it in everything, right? I mean, you take the characters that are in here, you take some of the chapters and sort of the set pieces and environments that are in here, and you could just tell they just wanted to have fun. And I think this game captures that absolutely. Speaking of the serious moments, though, there are some emotional moments, and for me, a lot of those emotional moments actually hit, and that's something I look for in a lot of games, is do the emotional beats hit? And for the most part, there were a couple moments where I'm like, man, I feel that, like, that hit deep. There is one time where a little tear shed, I'm not gonna lie, and so I think the emotional beats were there. I think the hilariousness was there. I think the creativity was there. And also you put on top the voice acting and the performances that a lot of the characters gave, and I thought they were very good. And so overall, I think the story is really enjoyable. Now, we're going to talk about the story a little bit later because I do have mixed things and some bad things about the story, but I think in terms of Yakuza and Like a Dragon stories, I don't think it's great, but I don't think it's bad by any means. I think this is a overall very fun and fresh story for the franchise and just for this game entirely. Um, and now we're going to go to the music. Now, there are moments in this game where they specifically utilize music. And if you've played the game, you know there's one at the very end and there's one like pretty close to the beginning, like an hour into the game. And those are some of those S tier moments, let me just tell you. But overall, I love the pirate flair of the music. You know, you could tell it's pirate music, but it sounds like Yakuza music, and I love that. And then other things that I love about this game, the visuals. It's a Yakuza game. I mean, it looks good. It's not gonna be mind-blowing visuals, or you're not gonna be like, wow, this art direction is insane. But it looks nice, especially with the addition of, you know, a lot of coloring, like with Majima's attacks and stuff like that, and with, like, you know, out on sea, seeing a lot of the waterscapes and stuff like that. But I thought it was very nice, and I think the pirate art is pretty cool. Like, a lot of the outfits and a lot of the pirate ship designs, I think, look really cool. So visually, I think it's a very pretty nice game for the most part. But then, etc. Minigames, man. Minigames, oh, man. This is why I could have probably beat this game within, like, the day it came out, honestly, if I didn't get so hooked on certain minigames. Like, holy moly. Man, like, there are some minigames where I'm like, I just want to play this. Like, honestly, like, I just want to play this game because this is so fun. The baseball one with, like, all the cans is awesome. The throwing darts was super fun. There was like 8-ball, or no, not 8-ball, but it's called like the one-shot challenge, where you have to like get the 8-ball in while there's like obstacles in the way. Man, that was so fun. But there's so many mini games that I absolutely loved. And then also there's a lot of customization in this game, and I really like that. Now I haven't played Infinite Wealth, so I don't know like what all was in there. So if I say like, you know, I really enjoyed that this was in the game and it was in the last one, sorry, I just haven't played it. So this is like the first experience for me. But I really enjoyed a lot of the customization, a lot of the mini games, a lot of things you were able to do within the game. But now we're going to go on to the mix. What are things that I didn't necessarily love, but I didn't hate, right? These are things that, you know, I wish they can improve on, or things that I would have personally changed, but overall, it's not a big, really, a big issue. And starting with the gameplay, I think number one, it's too easy. There were not a lot of moments where I struggled. There was not a lot of moments where I died and had to retry. I think the final boss, I actually tried, I think. Very easy from final boss. Like, he has a very simple moveset, so you kind of just have to learn that moveset, and then you can just dodge it, and found it very simple. I think there are some moments where it's like, okay, this is a little bit challenging, but once you die once or twice, then you just get it. And so I do think it was a little too easy for me personally. That's something I would have tweaked a little bit. Another thing with the combat, I love that this is in the game, but I would have done more with it. I think there should have been at least one more style of combat, right? There is the I don't even know what it's called, but it's like fists, and you have like a knife, right? And that's like your purple combat style, and then you have your pirate fighting style, where you have two swords and your like gun and grappling hook. But if in my opinion, I would have had a third one, just to add more versatility and more variety to the combat, because there are so many moments where you kind of just sit on one of them and you kind of forget you have another style, or there's sometimes where you just switch between the two and it's like, I kind of want to do something a little bit different. But then also I would have loved for them to implement the fact that you have to switch between styles a little bit more, right? Like, I wish there were certain bosses where you're like, no, this style works much better, right? So it kind of forces you to switch styles and make the styles mean more in a sense of gameplay design. And so that's something I wish they tweaked a little bit. And then for me, I thought the progression was just okay. It's pretty basic to me. You earn enough experience points, you earn enough money, and you can select a skill point. Awesome. There's not really skill tree in here. There's the RPG stuff is very simple. So progression was just very simple. Again, this is why I'm putting it in mix, because I'm not downing the game for this. I just think if they would have improved on these, it could have made the game even better than it is, right? So that is something I found just okay to me, is the progression. And also, this is a personal thing. I mean, there are people who have issues with this, and that's why it's even a term, right? And that is, combat is soft locked, meaning there is no locking on enemies, right? It's more or less the game auto kind of locks you onto enemies, so it just kind of tries to guess what enemy you're trying to attack, and it moves your character towards that enemy whenever you throw a punch or something, or try and shoot. And because it's soft lock, it can be annoying, because there are times where you're trying to go after a specific enemy, and when you throw the punch, it just locks onto a completely different enemy, and he like goes towards that direction instead. Or when you're trying to shoot a gun, it just aims in the completely wrong direction than what you actually want to aim. Whereas if you could lock on to enemies, that problem doesn't exist. And so for me, I always, and this is a complaint I have in every soft lock game, because I personally just find soft lock games kind of annoying at times because of this fact. It's just really annoying in the moment when you know you're doing really good, or what you're trying to do is a big IQ play, and the game just doesn't allow you to do it because it just locks onto the wrong enemy. And it's just so annoying because there's nothing you can really do about it. So that is something that I found a little bit annoying, but overall it's not going to drag the game down because there's so many games that do it. It's just a thing. That's why we have a term for it, soft lock. But anyway, in terms of the story, there's not really much I can complain about the story in terms of mix. For me, I thought the characters were good. But there were no standouts except for Majima. Like, I didn't fall in love with any of the characters. But Majima for sure, I think, was the absolute MVP of the game. And then the antagonist as well. I thought the antagonist was just an antagonist. Like, he didn't move me in any way, right? And then we go to the bad. What did I find bad? Like I said, there's not really much mixed, but there is some bad stuff that I would personally consider bad, right? Starting with the gameplay. The first thing, and honestly, I didn't even realize this until one of my friends said it, and I was like, you know what? He's so right. Like, that would help it so much. And that is, I think the game needs a hotbar for consumables, right? In order to heal, you have to pause the game, go to your inventory, find the heal you want to use, click select, and then consume it. Whereas there are so many games where you could just click up on the D-pad and he'll just drink a potion, boom, you're healed. It ruins the vibe of the combat. Like it ruins the momentum. It ruins the mood that the fight or the moment is in. And yeah, that is kind of really weird. Like, I didn't even realize how big of an inconvenience that was until he brought it up. I'm like, yeah, honestly, I feel that, honestly. But also, another thing that I personally did not like about the gameplay is the ship exploration. And honestly, just the whole ship thing as a whole outside of combat. If you're not in combat while driving the pirate ship, I think it's just it's so bland. Like, it's so bland. It doesn't do anything. I personally do not like it. I had a friend who, like, pretty much recently just texted me, yo, what is your opinion on Pirate Yakuza? I'm thinking about getting it. I'm like, I'd recommend it. I think it's really, really fun. I told him my score. I'm not going to say my score because we're not at the end of the review. But he was like, honestly, the ship combat is like my main selling point. And I'm like, honestly, if that's your main selling point, I don't know if it's for you. Because while it is fun, the ship exploration is just whatever. And everything else about it is whatever. And it's a very simplified ship combat, right? I think the ship exploration is whatever. You know, you just go from island to island. Sometimes you can stop at island to go trying to find a treasure chest. Sometimes you just run into enemies. But outside of that, the zones are very small. There really isn't much mobility options. Like I said, the combat's very simplified. There's just not much to do with the ship outside of combat. And that's something I wish was different about the game. And then story-wise, this is my biggest issue of the whole game, actually. And while there are S-tier moments, and while I overall loved how much fun and the direction that they went, I think there are pacing issues and there are just moments where it fell flat for me. Number one, I think the game is too slow at times, right? I think the very, very start, I think, is pretty slow. And for me, Chapter 2 was brutal. There were so many moments where it's just going from point A to point B. And honestly, that's throughout the whole game. There are a lot of moments where you're just going from point A to point B, from point A to point B, from point A to point B. And it's just repeated, like a bunch of like thugs walk up upon you while you're going from point A to point B. And it's just very uneventful. And it feels like a to-do list at times, right? Oh, like, go get this many crew members, go get this much money, while just walking around going from point A to point B, point A to point B. Go talk to this person, go back to the boat, go talk to that person, go back to the boat, go talk to that person, go back to the boat. And for me, that just it ruins the momentum of the game, first of all. But then number two, it's just not really exciting and it's not really fun for me. And I'm all about the experience, right? A game needs to give me a great experience, and when you have me doing things that feel like a to-do list, when you have me doing things that make me feel like I'm just going from point A to point B over and over again, and when you have a chapter that I personally did not enjoy, that hurts the experience for me. And now I get it. There are so many games that have slow moments. I get that. And that's why there are games that when the pacing is right, it's amazing, right? Another thing that I did not like is I just feel like overall the story was rushed. And I said this to my friend, and the more I've thought about it, the more I absolutely think it's true, is I feel like because obviously the recent Yakuza games have been like 50 to even longer hours long, right? Whereas I feel like they once again wanted to make like a 40-hour game with this game. But because it's a spinoff, they were like, okay, well, we need to shorten it to like 15 hours. And so they just condensed and compressed everything story-wise into those 15 hours. And you could just feel it with so many characters. There are certain characters that will like talk to you in a certain way, or you'll have a moment with them, and then like 10 minutes later, they're like your best friend. Like, there is one character you meet early on, the dad in this game, right? Where at first he hates your guts. He literally tries to kill you so many times. Like, he has the biggest trust issue of all time. And then as soon as he joins your crew, as soon as you get to the next objective, he's like, let's do this, Majima. Like, yeah, we're gonna do this together. And it's like, you literally just hated me like 5 minutes ago. Like, what is going on? Like, there are so many moments where I'm like, they should have developed that further. They should have explained that further. They should have gave more context. There should have been another moment here. Because I feel like this game jumps from points to points to points to plot points to plot points with very minimal development. And granted, some of those moments are S tier, but there are so many moments that aren't S tier because there was no build-up or there was no extra oomph behind it. And to me, that is a flaw. Because all the pieces are there. The pieces are there. There are characters in place to have these epic moments, and because you didn't spend more time doing it, it didn't hit the way it probably should have, or it could have been so much better. And so for me, I think rushed is a flaw for me, just because there are so many moments where I'm like, I feel like they wanted to do more. I feel like they could have done more. It's just, you can tell they treated this as a spinoff, and that is a flaw for me. But that's it for bad. That's it. A little bit in gameplay and a pretty good chunk in story. But that just goes to show you, I don't think this game is bad whatsoever. I actually think this game is great. There are so many moments in this game that I think were fantastic. There's a lot of things I love about this game, like its combat, like its music, like its style and design. But yeah, for me, this is an 8 out of 10 game. That is my score, 8 out of 10. I think Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii is a great game. Do I think it could have been better? Yes. Do I think it could have been worse? Probably. But I think they absolutely delivered on what this game is supposed to be. A fun Like a Dragon experience with a good story, with fun combat, while being fresh and unique, while delivering us something different. I just think that it could have been better. I'm not going to say that there's too many flaws, because there's really not a lot. There really is not a lot. I just think it could have been better. And honestly, this is a big thing that I've been wanting to say on a podcast for a while. So I'll just say here is, just because somebody gives us a low score to something doesn't mean there are so many problems or flaws with something, right? Like, in your opinion, like, if you finish a game and it's like, honestly, there's nothing wrong with the game, so like, I feel like it should be a 10 out of 10. That's not what that means. Your rating should be your experience. Just because you give something a 9 out of 10 rather than a 10 out of 10, you don't have to find a flaw, right? It's like, well, I gave it a 9 out of 10, so I have to give it a critique. Otherwise, then it should be a 10 out of 10, right? No, sometimes things just are a 9 out of 10. Like, they just feel. Just because something is a lower score doesn't mean it's worse than something. It just means something else was better, right? So for me, an 8 out of 10 is great. Not because I think there are so many flaws. I just think it could have been better because I've played things that I have enjoyed way more. But for me, this was a great experience. RGG continues to deliver on this Like a Dragon franchise. They continue to deliver in terms of storytelling, in terms of gameplay, and I hope they keep cooking, and I hope they keep, getting that motivation to try new things and be a little bit creative and fun with these, because I really did enjoy this. And honestly, playing this game made me want to play some more Yakuza games, and to the point where now I'm definitely going to be playing Gaiden here soon. Man who erased his name. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Let me know in the comments, what do you guys think of Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii? And I'd love to talk with you. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Johnny Moore out. Peace.